Welcome back, dear viewers, and thank you for staying with us. We hope you've enjoyed this song celebrating Eid, and of course, we're still celebrating here on ITV International this occasion, and we have prepared for you a special report on Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of the Sacrifice. After that, we'll be back with our dear guest here in the studio, Rana, Ihab, the tourism and heritage researcher. Please watch the report with us and come back to us.
Known as Eid al-Adha, the Feast of Sacrifice, is the most important feast of the Muslim calendar. This feast is also known as the Eid al-Kabir, which means the Grand Eid, or the Greater Baram. It has this more important status in religious terms as this Eid lasts for 4 days, whereas Eid al-Fitr, or the Lesser Baram, lasts for 3 days. Eid al-Adha falls on the 10th day of the Dhul Hijjah, the 12th and final month in the Islamic calendar. It celebrates the willingness of the Prophet Abraham to sacrifice his son Ismail in submission to Allah's command before he was stopped by Allah. During the feast of Eid al-Adha, Muslims reenact Abraham's obedience by sacrificing a cow or ram. The family eat about a third of the meal, a third goes to friends and relatives, and the remaining third is donated to the poor and needy. The sacrifice denotes the willingness of people to give away things that are close and dear to their hearts, just to follow the commands of Allah above anything else. Also, it signifies helping the poor and sharing with those who are in need, which is one of the main pillars of Islam. Socializing is an important thing for every society to promote mutual understanding and harmony between citizens. A healthy and sound social life is obtained when people learn to live in a cohesive bond together. In this regard, the gatherings during feasts are an effective way of bringing people together and manifesting these emotions. Eid al-Adha is a festival that helps in fostering harmony and sanctity among people while conveying a good message to all. One of the best things associated with this feast is that families and friends come together. Eid al-Adha in Egypt and the Islamic world is a time of family reunion, wearing new clothes and helping others. It is mainly about bringing people together, helping those in need, and sharing the spirit of love with everyone around.
Thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us, and welcome back, and thank you, Hani Saif, for this report. We're back here with Rana Ihab, the tourism and the heritage researcher. Rana, the foundation of tourism in Egypt is based on a huge number of genuine factors. The fact that Egypt has much of the world's treasures here, the cultural diversity, the geographical location, the charm of the people, the weather, many other factors, of course. How do you see the government's efforts in trying to get the best out of the feasts, say the Eid al-Adha, the Eid al-Fitr, Orthodox Christmas, the Easter, and the other feasts that we have here in Egypt, and the pharaonic feasts, of course, to boost the tourism industry?
Actually, when we are talking about the tourism industry in general, it's very huge. It's divided for a lot of things. So because it's a great industry, so we will find also the hotels have a big deal with that. The streets in Egypt, the security, the Ministry of Interior, a lot of people working especially in those festivals or those feasts, because all the people in the streets. And now we are talking about Egypt, one of the most safe places in whole Africa nowadays, actually. So for that reason, people prefer Egypt as this destination. So all this circle working together to create the great environment for all people who in Egypt, who visit Egypt, even the people who lived in Egypt in general. So actually, Ministry of Tourism doing a great activity on that. Also to when we are talking about the pandemics in general, we will find also the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities take all the things that need to be facilitated for the people. If we are talking about sorry, if we are talking about the archaeological sites, or we are talking about the museums in general, we will find all the people there working all the time, facilitate everything. Now we have amazing thing that you can actually reserve your tickets before you going to the museum. So this is one of the most amazing things during this time, during the festivals, because we did not have all of these people on that ticket window. So a lot of crowded.
There was a great effort in the renovation, restoration, and the inauguration of new museums as well, not just renovation of older ones, but new museums. So we have a bunch of them right now, and they are all very exciting and a fun place to visit.
Exactly. So all of that Ministry of Tourism work in, and also when we are talking about the shores, about the seas, we are taking our limits. Everything we need to be a safe tourism for the people there. Actually, all the actions in a high level, especially nowadays. So enjoy your time when you are in Egypt, and don't be fear, don't panic. Everything will be under control. Even something happened with you, you will find all the people listening, all the environment around you will helping you to be on the right way to enjoy in your time here. Even all the authors, as I mentioned, all the anything related to the tourism, you will find them facilitate everything for you.
Indeed, Rana, and I'm glad that you mentioned the pandemic, because during the time of the pandemic, the health ministry, alongside the tourism ministry, made a great effort and made hotels safe. And once we got restarted, once hotels and beaches got to action again after the end of the pandemic, and Egypt was, when it came also to COVID-19, one of the safest places in the world. Now, Rana, speaking of the museums that we have now, of course, we are all awaiting a big event, which is the official inauguration of GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, which has been dubbed the biggest cultural city in the world. Not just a museum, but a cultural city. So how are you looking forward to what would be the biggest cultural event, I would guess, in the world? And how would GEM add to Egypt's rich dimensions and rich elements when it comes to tourism?
During actually the 5 years ago in Egypt here, we witnessed a lot of opening for important museums in whole Egypt, and like the Egyptian of civilization, the Egyptian in Sharm el-Sheikh, museum in Sharm el-Sheikh, also in Hurghada, in a lot of places. But we are still for opening the great event of the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza, front of the pyramid. Why people waiting this? Because for the first time we will have the treasure of King Tutankhamun in one place for the first time from the discovery.
We are seeing pictures now
discoveries of his tomb, and also the great facade for the wall. We have the names of kings of Egypt written in cartouche, the circle thing. We will find the names of Egyptians, pharaohs, Egyptian kings in that time. And also the Grand Egyptian Museum doing something special nowadays, that we can visit doing a virtual tour
Yes.
inside the museum.
So there has been a soft opening already. I mean,
Yes, exactly. We have the opening. You can reserve your tickets from the official site for the Grand Egyptian Museum, and also you can visit the museum in a virtual tour. As the initiative that doing by Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, that we have virtual tours for a lot of our museums in Egypt here, a lot of tombs, especially the closed or the most expensive one. So you can visit it virtually. You can look what's inside it. So this is a great thing. And the Grand Egyptian Museum, it will be the great museum and the greatest museum in all the world that collect all the ancient Egyptian heritage in the worldwide, and we can see a lot of amazing things. We can look at the monuments by a different way, the designing of the label, the designing for different ages here, that children now can enjoying their times there. One of the most important things we are searching about the sustainable development here in Egypt, how we are care about our children, how we need to make them learn well about their heritage, how to be related to them. Actually, the first thing I think the people doing in the school, or the children doing in the school, drawing the 3 pyramids of Egypt with the flag and sun. So now you can see the 3 pyramids from Grand Egyptian Museum, see a huge numbers from ancient Egyptian monuments, ancient Egyptian kings that are talking about our heritage, talking about our culture, how the ancient Egyptian lived in the past, how we are related to them, how they are the one who's creating this culture in general. So our ancestors, for sure, who's doing that, and we preserve that, and we are telling our stories about that. So in the Grand Egyptian Museum, we will find all amazing things by a new technology. People who's working in the Grand Egyptian Museum doing a big effort to doing things that never been in any museum in the world. For example, we have the hanging.
Glad to hear this.
Yes, hanging obelisk. There is no hanging obelisk in all the world, but we have in our museum. So we have a lot of amazing things actually.
Beautiful, Rana. So you got to your specialty, which is heritage, and you're also an archaeological expert. So I wanted to ask you this: what is required from every Egyptian archaeologist to raise awareness about archaeology and the importance of preserving Egypt's precious heritage?
We have important thing that we need to listen to our scientists. We need to listen to Egyptologists. So anyone can talk about heritage, but when we are talking about a specialized thing, we have the evidence, we have the books. You can visit the museum and you have the great boxes talking about Egyptology, talking about the archaeology in general. This could be from the people in the university, the people in the schools, you doing your visit to the museums, to the archaeological sites, and I promise you, you will enjoy there, especially nowadays in festivals and also in the summer vacation. You can go into the museum and spend a time there, spend a time doing a kind of different activities, knowing your heritage, knowing your origin, knowing how the ancient Egyptian lived in general. I didn't mean only the ancient Egypt. I'm talking about the heritage in general in Egypt, because when you are talking about the type or the word of heritage, the heritage for all the people in the world. But when we are talking about our special heritage, our Egyptology, our Coptology, this is, I think, specialized for Egyptian. So when we are knowing that and taking the right sentences, the right knowledge from the right people, this is very, very important, because as we said, we have a lot can talk about the heritage, we have a lot can talk about the Egyptology, but the specialists in this field, we need to listen to them, and actually they're doing all of this effort to talking about the heritage, the right way, the right history, and the pictures, the scenes from the tombs and temples. The hieroglyphic, there is a limited people in the world that can now read hieroglyphic in general or ancient Egyptian languages, and we need to listen to them. We have also here in Egypt a lot of websites that add to your knowledge, which is a right from the ministry, like Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, the cultural places here in Egypt. When they are talking about that, we need to listen to them. Involve in the archaeological and museum activities during the summer, and I promise you will enjoy when you visit and see by your eyes. Everything will be different. We read all the time, but when we visit, we have the right evidence that we are the owner of this civilization.
Well said, well laid out. Rana Ihab, the tourism and heritage researcher. Rana, dear viewers, another short break, and when we come back, we'll take up our final segment of tonight's very special episode of the debate celebrating Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of the Sacrifice.